Part 1. The boy's name was Ayaan, and laziness followed him like a shadow he could never escape. Every morning, his alarm rang sharply at 6, filling the room with urgency, but Ayaan never felt it. Half asleep, his hand reached out automatically, hitting the snooze button without even opening his eyes. "Just 5 more minutes," he whispered, as if time itself had agreed to wait for him. Those 5 minutes quietly turned into an hour, sometimes more. When he finally woke up, sunlight was already flooding the room, and his phone was the first thing he reached for. Notifications, messages, short videos, endless scrolling. His thumb moved faster than his thoughts. Minutes slipped by unnoticed. His mind felt busy, but his life stayed empty. From outside the room, his mother's voice called, tired but caring. "Ayaan, you'll be late again." "I know, Ami," he replied casually. "There's still time." But time never answered back. It never warned him. Simply kept moving. Ayaan wasn't stupid. In fact, everyone agreed he was intelligent. Teachers often said, "You have potential." Friends said, "You're smart, just lazy." And Ayaan believed them both, especially the part that allowed him to stay comfortable. He depended on last-minute effort, guessing answers, and excuses that sounded convincing enough. Sometimes he passed. Sometimes he failed. Either way, he never changed. His days followed the same pattern. Wake up late. Rush through responsibilities. Promise himself he would do better tomorrow. Tomorrow always felt safe because it wasn't today. When assignments piled up, he told himself he worked better under pressure. When opportunities appeared, he delayed preparing for them. Deep down, he feared effort more than failure. At night, Ayaan lay in bed, phone glowing in the darkness. He watched other people living their lives, traveling, succeeding, smiling confidently. "They're just lucky," he muttered, scrolling faster, trying to silence the uncomfortable feeling growing inside him. Somewhere deep in his heart, a quiet voice asked, "What about you?" He ignored it. One evening, while his phone battery died suddenly, the room fell silent. No videos, no distractions, just him and his thoughts. He stared at the ceiling, feeling strangely uneasy. "What did I actually do today?" he asked himself. The answer scared him. Nothing meaningful. Nothing lasting. Still, he turned to his side and closed his eyes. "I'll start fresh tomorrow," he whispered, like a broken promise he had made 100 times before. Ayaan didn't know it yet, but life was already keeping count. Every delayed task, every wasted hour, every excuse was shaping his future. While he slept, time moved forward, quietly deciding the direction of his story. Part 2. Reality began to catch up with Ayaan in small, painful ways. It wasn't dramatic at first. It started with missed deadlines and low grades that he brushed off with a nervous laugh. "Next time," he told himself. But next time kept arriving faster than he expected. One exam went badly because he studied the night before. Another opportunity slipped away because he didn't prepare at all. Slowly, excuses stopped working even for him. At college, his friends moved ahead while he stayed stuck. Group discussions turned uncomfortable when he had nothing meaningful to add. When results were announced, he avoided looking at the list. Failure didn't shock him anymore, but it hurt deeper each time. He told himself he didn't care, yet every night, that lie became harder to believe. One afternoon, Ayaan received an email about an important interview opportunity. His heart raced with excitement. This was his chance. He opened his laptop, planning to prepare, but instead he checked his phone just for a minute. 1 minute became an hour. The day slipped away. When he finally looked at the clock, panic hit him. "I still have tomorrow," he said, trying to stay calm. But tomorrow came with stress, confusion, and poor preparation. The interview went exactly as his habits predicted. He walked out knowing he had wasted another chance. The rejection email arrived 2 days later. He read it silently, his throat tight. For the first time he didn't blame luck. He blamed himself. That night at dinner, the house felt unusually quiet. His mother watched him closely. "Everything okay?" she asked gently. "Yeah," Ayan replied quickly, forcing a smile. But his father looked at him for a long moment and said, "Time is not waiting for you, beta." There was no anger in his voice, only disappointment. That hurt more than shouting ever could. A few days later, Ayan ran into his old school friend Samir at a small cafe. Samir looked confident, well-dressed, and focused. They talked about life. Samir spoke about his job, his routine, his plans. Ayan nodded, smiling politely, but inside something twisted painfully. They had once shared the same classroom, the same dreams. Now they lived in different worlds. After they said goodbye, Ayan sat alone, staring at the table. The noise around him faded. A single thought echoed in his mind. When did I fall this far behind? He walked home slowly, feeling heavier with every step. That night, unable to sleep, he opened an old drawer and found his childhood notebook. Inside were dreams written in messy handwriting. Big goals, bold hopes. He flipped through the pages, his chest tightening. "I had time," he whispered. "I wasted it." For the first time the truth was clear. His laziness wasn't harmless. It was stealing his future. Tears rolled down silently as a painful realization settled in. Time never came back. And if he didn't change now, this regret would be permanent. Part 3. That night Ayan didn't sleep much. His mind kept replaying the words he had whispered to himself. "I wasted it." Each time he closed his eyes, he saw missed chances, unfinished work, and faces filled with quiet disappointment. For the first time, laziness didn't feel comfortable. Felt dangerous. When the alarm rang the next morning, his hand moved toward the snooze button out of habit. Paused in the air. His chest felt tight, as if something inside him was begging for a different choice. Slowly, he sat up and turned the alarm off. The room felt unfamiliar at that hour, calm and silent. He whispered to himself, "Just today. Try." The first few days were harder than he expected. Waking up early felt like punishment. His body resisted every change. While studying, his focus broke again and again. The phone buzzed, calling him back to old habits. Sometimes he gave in, then hated himself for it. "Why is this so hard?" he muttered one afternoon, closing his books in frustration. Anne skipped lunch that day and sat alone on a bench outside the campus. His head hung low. "Maybe I'm just lazy by nature," he said quietly. "Maybe this is who I am." The thought scared him more than failure ever had. An old security guard, someone Ayan had seen countless times but never spoken to, sat beside him. "Rough day?" the man asked kindly. Ayan nodded. "I'm trying to change, but I keep falling back." The guard smiled gently and pointed to the watch on his wrist. "This watch never stops moving," he said. "Even when I'm tired, even when I fall. Time doesn't care. But you can choose whether to walk with it or be dragged by it." The words felt simple, but they landed deep. That evening, Ayan went home and opened a notebook. He didn't plan big goals. He wrote small ones. Wake up on time. Study 1 hour. Keep the phone away. He also wrote down his fears. The fear of regret, the fear of staying the same. At the bottom of the page, he wrote a promise. "I will not quit on myself again." Days passed. Then weeks. Ayan wasn't perfect, but he was consistent. He failed some mornings and succeeded in others. But he always tried again. Slowly, something changed inside him. The effort hurt less. Discipline started feeling normal. One night, while studying, Ayan looked at the clock and smiled. Time was passing, but this time he wasn't wasting it. For the first time he felt in control of his life, and that feeling was worth every struggle. Part 4. As the months passed, the change in Ion became steady and real. It wasn't loud or dramatic, but it was visible in the way he carried himself. He walked with purpose now, his days no longer blending into each other. Mornings began before sunrise, not because he suddenly loved waking up early, but because he respected what those quiet hours gave him. Focus, control. College people started noticing. Ion was no longer the boy rushing in late with sleepy eyes. He sat in the front rows, listening carefully, writing notes, asking questions. At first, his classmates looked surprised. Some even joked, "Who are you, and what have you done with Ion?" He smiled, not offended. He knew how far he had come. One day, a professor returned an assignment and paused at his desk. "This is strong work," the professor said. "You've improved a lot." The words echoed in Ion's mind long after class ended. He walked out of the room feeling lighter, not because of praise but because of proof. Proof that effort changed things. Proof that time, when used well, responded kindly. At home, the atmosphere slowly shifted. His mother noticed that he slept earlier and woke up on his own. She noticed his calm, his discipline. She didn't say much, but sometimes she brought tea to his room while he studied, placing it quietly beside him. Those small gestures felt like silent support. One evening, his father watched him preparing for an interview and said simply, "I see you trying." That sentence stayed with Ion all night. It meant more than any lecture ever had. Soon real opportunities arrived. Ion applied for an internship he would have ignored before. This time he prepared days in advance. He researched, practiced, planned his answers. On the interview day, he wasn't nervous. He was ready. As he walked out of the building, he felt something unfamiliar but powerful: peace. No matter the outcome, he knew he hadn't wasted the chance. The call came a week later. "We'd like to offer you the position." Ion closed his eyes and took a deep breath. His hands trembled slightly, not from fear but from gratitude. After hanging up, he sat quietly, thinking about the boy he used to be. The boy who said later too often. That boy felt distant now. That evening, Ion went for a long walk alone. The city lights glowed softly, and the air felt calm. He realized success wasn't just about achievements. It was about becoming someone he respected. Discipline hadn't stolen his freedom, had given it back. As he walked home, Ion smiled to himself. Time was still moving forward just like it always had. But now, instead of chasing it or running from it, he was walking alongside it, step by step, fully awake. Final part. Ion's life didn't suddenly become perfect after that. There were still hard days, moments of doubt, and times when the old habits tried to return. But the difference now was simple and powerful. He noticed them. He no longer ignored the warning signs. When laziness whispered, he answered with action. When fear appeared, he faced it instead of scrolling it away. The internship taught him more than skills. It taught him responsibility. Showing up on time, meeting deadlines, respecting other people's time. These habits slowly reshaped his character. His supervisors trusted him. His work improved. For the first time, Ion felt dependable, even to himself. That feeling brought a quiet confidence he had never known before. One evening, after a long but productive day, Ion sat alone in his room. The phone lay on the table, untouched. The clock ticked softly on the wall. He looked around and smiled. This silence felt different now. It wasn't empty. It was peaceful. He realized he no longer needed distractions to escape his thoughts. He was finally comfortable with who he was becoming. His parents noticed it too. At dinner, laughter returned to the table. His mother spoke with pride instead of worry. His father listened more than he spoke. his eyes reflecting satisfaction. Ion understood then that success wasn't only personal. His discipline was healing more than just his own life. One night, he opened his old notebook again, the one filled with childish dreams. He didn't feel regret this time. He felt gratitude. He picked up a pen and wrote new goals, clearer and more realistic. Beneath them, he wrote a sentence that had become his truth. Time is life. Use it wisely. Standing by the window, watching the world move forward, Ion felt something he had searched for years. Inner peace. Not because he had achieved everything but because he was no longer wasting himself. He had learned that discipline wasn't about being strict. It was about being kind to your future. Ion knew one thing for certain now. Time would never slow down. It would never wait. But as long as he respected it, it would guide him forward. And with each sunrise, each focused hour, and each honest effort, he was shaping a destiny he could finally be proud of. If this story felt familiar, it's because Ion's story is not just his. It's ours. Every time we say later, every time we waste a day scrolling instead of building, we are quietly trading our future for comfort. Remember this: time is the only thing in life that never comes back. Money can return. Opportunities can return. Even people can return. But a wasted hour is gone forever. So start today. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Today. Wake up a little earlier. Focus a little longer. Choose discipline over excuses. Small steps taken daily change destinies. Use your time wisely. Because one day you'll realize that time was your life.